Wishon, and I wanted to talk to you a little bit today about one of the very most confusing subjects related to golf equipment, and that's the adjustable Hosel driver. There are an awful lot of claims that are out there, an awful lot of confusion as to what these golf clubs will do and can't do. As a 28-year veteran in golf club design with a strong background in custom club fitting research, I really wanted to take a chance to offer my experience to tell you exactly what the facts are concerning the modern group of adjustable Hosel drivers. Basically what we have with this is, for the first time ever, and the first time since designing golf clubs, the golf industry has all of a sudden decided to change the way that they define the measurement of loft on a driver. And what do I mean by that? Well, let's go back a little bit in the history of golf clubs, and let's talk about that to get a good foundation on some of the most important specifications of a driver, that being the loft angle, the face angle, and the lie angle. I began my experience in golf club design and manufacture way back in the days when golf clubs were made from trees. And this was the form of the raw club head that we would start with when we were going to make a persimmon or a laminated maple golf club, called a raw turning. And if you notice, the neck is very, very large, quite a lot larger than what the finished club ends up with. Why was this? Because the very large neck allowed the club maker to bore the hole for the shaft at different angles into the head to create different specifications. So the boring of the Hosel could be arranged so that you could send the bore from one side of the Hosel to the other, and it was widely accepted throughout the golf equipment industry that as you angled the bore towards the back of the head or towards the front of the head, you were changing the face angle orientation. If you angled the bore down more towards the heel versus more towards the middle of the head, you could alter and change and customize the lie angle specification. In no way were you changing the loft angle specification, because loft was a spec that in the very early days of wood head manufacture was strictly measured from the plane across the sole of the club up to the center of the face. And that was exactly the standard for how loft measurement was created. Well, since we also had two other specifications, lie angle and a face angle, the club makers soon got to the point many years ago that they decided we need a better way to be able to accurately measure these three key specifications on a club head. And thus was invented a machine like this. Within the golf equipment industry, this has become, since the 1970s, has been the standard for how club head specifications are measured, by fixturing the head into the gauge, putting it into the proper lie angle position, soling the driver on its sole, and then we can take the loft measurement up the face, and we can then take the face angle measurement coming off the orientation of the face. And please be aware of the fact that since this machine was invented back in the 1970s, every single club head production factory and every single golf equipment company owned one or several of these things, and this was what was used to be able to measure the specifications for loft, lie, and face angle. Again, the measurement for the loft was with the shaft in a vertical position, straight up and down in this plane, the club soled, resting on the major flat portion of its sole, and the angle up the face. That was the loft angle, at least until a couple of years ago when this came onto the industry, the modern adjustable Hosel driver. What we have with this is a Hosel piece that goes into a larger bore, and what has happened with this is the same exact thing that we were doing way back in the early days by changing the angle of the shaft into the head. So the Hosel device, the adjustable Hosel device, is made with its bore at an angle to its outside diameter dimension. And so that way, when you insert this into the head and you rotate it, you will change the angle of the orientation of the shaft in the head exactly the same way as if you bored the hole into a wooden head many decades ago. So why all of a sudden, if this is the same orientation of changing the angle of the shaft into the head by rotating the hosel sleeve, why are we now changing loft, as these drivers are sold on the basis of saying, and why isn't it just simply, as we all knew back in the early days, that when you change the angle into the head, you're simply changing the lie angle or the face angle? Well, the difference came about because the golf companies who came out with the modern adjustable hosel sleeve drivers changed the way they define loft. They completely eliminated and went away from this particular type of machine, which had set up the standard for loft, lie, and face angle measurement for decades and decades in this golf equipment industry. Well, let's take a look at exactly one thing about how they did this from the standpoint of making a change in how they define loft angle. Let's go into the point where we're all golfers. And as golfers, we're going to walk into the golf store and we want to look at all the new drivers that are on the rack. Okay, how do people do that? Okay, they walk up, they see all the drivers on the rack, they grab it, they take a look at some of the shape and cosmetic features to evaluate that, and then they sole the driver on the ground. They rest the driver on its sole so that they can see how the driver sits. And you know this term as an experienced golfer. You've heard it a lot. Boy, that sits really nice. What do people mean when they say it sits nice or it doesn't sit nice? It means they've rested it on the sole in the same type of position that we used as a standard for measurement for driver heads for years, and they're evaluating basically the face angle. How does that face point? Now, those of you who are, confirmed square face users and you can't stand a hook face angle, you've all put drivers down when you go into a store and you look at them. You see that may be made with a closed face angle. And what do most people do? Ooh, yuck, I can't play with that. And so if you happen to be, or if you know golfers over the years who've bought a driver that had a little bit more of a closed face angle than what the golfer wanted, and he wanted square, what have they done? They learned to turn the club head so that it sat square. And that is what forms the basis for how the modern adjustable hosel driver says that it changes loft. Plain and simple, the adjustable hosel drivers of today only change loft when the golfer always rotates the face to a square position behind the ball before he hits the shot. Okay, that's fine, because for those golfers who happen to have good swing characteristics, for those golfers who hit the ball straight, a square face angle is what they need to play their best. That just happens to be a pretty small minority of golfers out there in the industry. A number of years ago, Golf Digest magazine put out a cover story in which they said, from doing their survey work, 70% of the golfers who play this game slice the ball to some degree. Okay, I've talked to hardcore people who are not so much into believing club fitting as a true helper for golfers, and they say, yeah, any golfer who slices a ball, you should go out and take lessons and get rid of the slice, and then he'll be fine. Okay, noble thought. Hopefully a lot of people can do that. Problem is, from my experience, and I started out as a PGA member, as a teaching professional, golf is an athletic endeavor. Some people just don't have the athletic skills to be able to learn the square to inside out swing path or the proper release to deliver the club face square to the ball and hit the ball straight with a square face angle club. They can't do it. Some who do have that ability either don't have the money to take the lessons or the time to be able to practice and make that swing change to get rid of the slice grooved as a natural part of their golf swing. Fact of the matter is, there's a ton of people out there who slice the ball. There are some who hook the ball. But what it means is that face angle, the orientation of an open to square to closed face angle is one of the very, very most important fitting specifications for golfers to have in selecting a driver that they can play their best with. And the problem with the adjustable hosel driver of today is this. Because you have to hold the face square to get the loft change from the rotation of the hosel device, by doing that, you completely erase and you eliminate face angle as ever being a part of a fitting specification for one of these drivers. And that's too bad, because that's cutting a lot of golfers short in terms of being able to give them a driver that they can enjoy the game more with, keep the ball more in play with, because the face angle is reducing their slice or hook tendency and thus keeping the ball more in play. So as we look at modern golf club design, we look at this in terms of our research in club fitting as saying we need to be able to fit every golfer with the right loft angle, with the right face angle, and then all the rest of the other specifications that go along with the head, length, loft, length, shaft, swing weight, total weight, etc., and so on, to be matched to that golfer's size, strength, athletic ability, and heavily so their swing characteristics. When using the modern adjustable Hosel driver, you cannot fit a golfer as effectively as you can with a normally produced driver that has the ability to have its Hosel bent and adjusted, okay? What we're talking about here is that if you need a specific loft with a specific face angle and a specific lie angle to properly fit a golfer, you will never be able to get all three of those at the same time unless the golfer happens to be a square face player who hits the ball straight all the time. At that point, it is possible to do that. But for the vast majority who need a different face angle or who may need a different lie angle, along with having the loft angle fit correctly to their swing speed and their angle of attack into the ball, you can't get all three of those key specifications independently what you need with any of the adjustable Hosel drivers that are on the market today. So really, let's look at this and say, where these golf companies came from when they did the modern adjustable Hosel driver. They were all used to creating drivers, different drivers that each had a different loft. And you're used to seeing that. It was decades of this being the custom for driver design. So companies would maybe have an 8-degree, 9.5, 11.5, 13-degree driver, and the golfer can go in and choose the right loft, for that, okay? Remember, with the adjustable Hosel driver, you only get a loft change when you rotate that face to always hold it in the square position behind the ball. Well, at the same token, if we're making different drivers, each with its loft built into the head, designed into the head, we can also now do something where, like in our design work here, we've used a softer grade of titanium to make the Hosel so that we can actually bend the Hosel like we bend an iron. But in this case, what we can do then is we choose the loft from the different models that the golfer needs for his swing speed and his angle of attack, and then we can bend the Hosel to either open or close to address his slice or hook problem, and we could bend the Hosel flatter or more upright to address his lie angle fitting needs. In other words, a bendable Hosel driver made in different loft configurations allows you to deliver any combination of loft, lie, and face angle to a golfer to fit them properly. That's the direction I chose too, from the standpoint of designing our 919 THI driver. Okay, I also have created an adjustable Hosel driver too. So am I being a hypocrite here by telling you that the adjustable Hosel mechanism on the driver is not any good, yet I made one anyway? Well, I did it for two reasons, okay? Number one, we had an awful lot of custom club makers who came to me and said, Tom, when are you going to design an adjustable Hosel driver? The marketing is sending more people into my shop who want that, and I'd like to be able to deliver that to them if that's exactly what they want. So, okay. Any good club designer who also can make product decisions for his company has to listen to his market in terms of what they want. But the real reason I decided to design this adjustable Hosel driver was because I wanted to do it the right way. And what do I mean the right way? The right way meaning to be able to do the adjustable Hosel driver and then tell the market this is what it does when you sole the driver, and this is what it does if you're a golfer accustomed to always turning and holding the face square. Okay? In doing that, I made things a little bit more complicated than what the big companies did. Now think about this. On any of the big companies' adjustable hosel drivers, did they tell you in any of their marketing that you have to hold this face square to the ball to get the loft? I never read any of that, and asking other people about it, no one seems to, recall the fact that the companies instructed you that when you rotate the hosel, you now have to hold the face square to get the loft change. They didn't say anything about it. And that's unfortunate, because now there are some golfers, I'm sure, that are out there, and of course we've heard about them from lots of club makers, who have the adjustable hosel driver. They're used to addressing the ball by soling the club on the ground before they take the shot. And in that case, the adjustable hosel driver sends the face angle into whatever orientation it wants, where the golfer thinks it's changing the loft, and it's not with this. So for us, when we created our 939 AHT adjustable hosel driver, we have to send it out with a whole bunch of technical specifications. Sorry. Yeah, that isn't quite as easy as just grabbing some big company club off the rack and getting whatever you think you're getting there. We're explaining to you that with the AHT, when you sole the club, these are what the different face angle and lie positions are for each hosel position. But then we have another series of charts that if you square the face after you turn the hosel device inside the head, then you get a loft change and a lie change at the same token. That's the way it is. It isn't any other way. And so therefore, in our world, the custom fitting is always the best way for a golfer to get their golf clubs. We want golfers to know exactly what specs they're going to get with their club head, regardless of how they decide that they're going to address the ball with the driver, either soling it and then taking their grip and hitting the shot, or setting it down, turning it to square, and then going ahead and hitting the shot. So that's a little bit more about this whole business of adjustable hosel drivers, and I hope that's cleared things up. As always, you can go to our website, or you can look for more information there. You can also send us an email at contact@wishongolf.com and ask any technical question you want. I also did a very long and extensive technical report on the adjustable hosel drivers with all the possible true measurements as per done with the industry's standard for measuring loft, lie, and face angle. And you're welcome to a copy of that if you email us in, again, at contact@wishongolf.com. Thanks very much for your time and attention.